Hey, good morning, everybody. Steve here, K1 GMM. Got a lot to cover. What I'm going to go over today is how to set a Sun SDR2DX up for transmitting on AM. It's not as easy as you think if you want to do it right. Some things I stumbled upon and some corrections I have made. So I'm going to walk you through the entire setup from start to finish on how to get this running on AM with positive peaks and excellent modulation. So here we go. Let me pop out the chat, and I'm not going to look at the chat too much, just to let you guys know. Because this is going to take some concentration, but I will check it. I'll say good morning, everybody. Hope this finds everybody well. And let's get right into it. Let's get over to the other screen. So I'm going to go through this first. This is a V2. I'm still running V2. Yes, I'm not on V3. I don't feel a need to go to V3 because it doesn't offer me anything as far as an advantage goes. So I could be wrong about that, but I'm not going to get into that. This is V2. I'm assuming this will apply to V3 as well. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to set up your TX profiles, right? So what you need to do is go to Options, and under Device, go to TX. And if you look right here, AM stroke double sideband. Now, this number is for each sideband in an AM transmission, upper and lower. So let's say if you're going to run 10 kilohertz or 12 kilohertz, well, you want to, for let's say 10 kilohertz, you want to set that at 5,000. Okay. So, and that will put you at 10 kilohertz wide total. All right. So once you set that, hit apply and OK. And the next thing you want to do is you want to go up here and you want to set up a 10K AM profile. So once that's done, make sure your drive levels are set. Your tune levels, everything is the way you want it. Your mic is set correctly, your mic level, because this all writes to the profile. You want to make sure this is all set up correctly, so you can put your profile name in. Don't use strokes, dashes, dots, anything. It will not save the name. It screws it all up. So just do, I put in a 10K AM, put this in the profile name, hit add, boom, that's done. All right. Now we're going to get into the really gritty stuff. I'm going to make sure I keep everything, I don't miss anything here. So under processor, you want to click on the processor. And if you go to AGC, here's the catch. You want to make sure this is turned on. Normally, I don't run my mic AGC. If you go up here to the drop down, this is not enabled, right? Well, come to find out, I had someone tell me, hey, John, how's it going? I had someone tell me that I had a reverse, what I call a reverse swing. So under modulation, he was watching my carrier level drop. Now, that's not supposed to happen. And I quickly realized, and I have to show you an article really quick about this, and it may apply to other radios. This is something to watch for on your power meter. So if you set your power meter to average, right, your output meter, your watt meter, as you're modulating, you shouldn't see that carrier level drop under modulation. So I looked at my power meter, sure enough, it was dropping. That's not supposed to happen. And it has to do with how the rig handles the modulation. And it's not just these SDRs. So this is something to watch for. So what I did was I experimented. I engaged the automatic gain control on the mic input. See it right here, the check button, it's checked. So if we come over to the processor and click on AGC, I pretty much left this alone. I just enabled it. Now, when you key up and under modulation, it's not going to get to 0 dB. You don't want it to get to 0 dB, and I'll show you why. And so let me just get out of there for a second. So if I key up and I talk into the microphone, I'm on 0 drive, so there's no power going out. And you watch this mic input, the gain meter, ALC meter. So if I key this, you'll see that I'm peaking maybe -5. -5, kind of hovering them around. Oh, there's a little peak about -2. Testing 1 2, test 1 2, test audio 1 2, test. So you'll notice this, it's not even close to 0 dB. You'd think that if you pushed it to 0 dB, it would modulate harder. That's not how it works. What you'll end up with is a reverse swing where your carrier level drops. Now the way I have it set up is it's going the other way. So if I'm pushing, let's say, a 200 watt carrier, right, with the ACOM 2000 Alpha, which I do every day, I see on the average on the watt meter, I see a 200 watt carrier, and under modulation, I will see about 250 watts in the modulation. It's going in the right direction, right? If it goes in a direction at all. Okay, now we're going to get back to the processor. So I'm going to show you what I have enabled. So I did enable DC block. The rotator I do not use. I haven't played with it too much, but it does have to do with AM, and I will be experimenting with that a little bit. Preprocessor is off. I have my filter set. So this is actually the 12K. So let me show you how I do this. And these are high and low pass filters I have set. So what you want to do is, let's say you're transmitting on 10K, and this is on transmit. You're transmitting on 10K AM. You would put, let me load that profile. Oh, no, it's just a straight profile, so I did change that. Okay, so filters, I have this set up to go out to 12K, right? So I actually set the low pass a little bit high. So let's say you have a 12K transmit profile. Remember, you create it up here, and through the options menu in the TX, for 12K, you'd have this set at 6,000 hertz. 6,000 per side, right? So on the filters, low. Now you don't have to use these, but I try to keep my transmissions, the skirts, very, very sharp, right? To prevent any kind of splatter. And this rig does not splatter, which I'm going to show you. And that's with a 200 watt carrier into an Kiwi SDR, which is 15 air miles away from me at on 3705. I hit that thing hard. So you'd see it splattering all over the place if it was splattering, and you won't. I'll show you. So I set my high and low pass filters. I stretch it out a little bit. Don't go below 50 hertz. I think this is a little bit of a stretch. I should probably change this to 60. I need to do some more work on the audio. I'm not really pleased with the way the audio sounds. It's a little muddy and a little heavy on transmit. So if you're transmitting at 6,000 hertz on this rig, I would set this around 6,400, because if you look at the skirt, you want it to kind of roll off at around 6,000. So I set it so it rolls off a little bit higher. Now 50 hertz, this actually starts rolling off probably around 60. But it's still transmitting down to 50 hertz, right? You don't want too much bottom end in AM. You don't want it to sound like ESSB or Voodoo type stuff. It doesn't work. If you listen to AM transmissions, commercial AM transmissions, they don't sound like that. So moving on to the noise gate. Noise gated I don't use. Compression I leave at 0. because all the compression is handled by this. I'm running the TXVST host system, doing all the handling all the processing outside of the radio. Okay. You do want a decent level of compression and hard limiting if you can apply it. Let's get back over here. Just because of the nature of how this rig handles modulation in the AM mode, and others as well. Now, let me just say I suspect the Anon handles it extremely well because of the leveler. I haven't tested and looked at the Anon in a long time, but I've never done that test to see which way, if I'm getting a reverse swing on the carrier, if it's dropping under modulation. I will be checking that, but this video is not about the G2. Anyways, compressor I leave at 0. You may want to engage this if you're not running external software. Limiter I do not use. I do use the equalizer's disengaged. Why is that? That's not supposed to be disengaged. That's interesting. That's supposed to be engaged. So what I did was I tried to drop off, nail down some of the frequencies that are obnoxious, right? And boost other frequencies that I need and put a very high Q on them. This EQ is second to none. It is awesome. Of course, we get over to the AGC, and the mic AGC is turned on, and that's what prevents that reverse swing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and re-export this profile to the 1012 AM. Click yes, that is done. User is on. Must not have saved it with the EQ on. Why? Okay, now that's done. Couple things that are very cool about this rig. You have a spectrum analyzer available at the bottom with a logarithmic analyzer on the top, and it has the ability to accumulate over a period of time so you can see what's happening with your waveforms. Now, to turn this on, to clear the accumulate, just hit this checkbox here and turn it back on. And the spectrum I have set at 10,000 hertz. So if I go, you'll see the range is up to 10,000. And where was my transmit bandwidth at? 10 kAm. Okay. So you can see 5 kilohertz right there. This is the 5 kilohertz line, right? So this will give you your waveform modulation. You want to set this to after modulator. I set it to post modulator. And I have the logarithmic checked. I set it at 60 dBm, didn't touch it. I do not run the pink noise line. I suppose you could run that if you were curious. Don't care. Now, if you go up to here, the processor, and you hit this little drop-down arrow, you can click this to show analyzer. And that will pop this onto the screen, and you can orient it. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. My goodness. Where did that come from? Okay, now you will notice here, now you don't have to set your spectrum up like I set it up. I mean, you run it any way you want. I'm just showing you how I do it and how I consider a lot of this information valuable, especially on AM. All right. If you want it to sound really nice on AM, right? I'm showing you how to do it and how to actually work the way it's supposed to. So right here, you'll see I got a free stopwatch. This is called a free stopwatch, and if you listen to AM, you'll notice that guys will go on these overs that are like freaking crazy long. So I like to keep track of my time. Hey, Christian, how you doing, man? I like to keep track of my time, how long my transmits are. Nobody wants to sit and listen to you yap for 15 minutes. So I try to keep my transmissions on AM to 3 minutes or less. I had this morning, I don't know, it was last night or this morning, good Lord, I went out beyond 4 minutes. That's too long. This is kind of a cool little thing. You can download this and pin it right to your software. So it's always on top. Right? Kind of a handy little tool for us that like to yap. Okay. That's done. That entire process is done. Of course, you got your receive bandwidths here, and you can set a user bandwidth. Now, something I have found, which is very handy, I don't know if you guys use this, a lot of times you'll get these asshats that throw carriers in on the within the bandpass. So this is your bandpass on 10 kilohertz, 5,000 per side, and you'll see a carrier pop up. Or you may see an AM broadcast coming in, let's say on 40 meters, and it's starting to sneak in. Well, that's not an issue. On the Sun, all you have to do is engage the notch filter, and you can place a notch. Let's say there's a carrier right here. You can hit the notch plus, and you'll see a notch pop up. Now, if you zoom in, you'll see that notch there. Now, you can grab the left side, and you can narrow it down like that, and you can narrow it right down to the carrier. And then you can left-click. Oh, went the wrong way. Left-click on it, and you can drag it. You can use a zero, beat that carrier, and bang, it'll take it out. You want to get rid of it, put your cursor on it, double-click to the right, and it will get rid of it. And you can drag that anywhere you want. It is very handy when working AM. Sometimes you may see some carriers or some obnoxiousness in there, and you can get that out. Just wanted to mention that. Let's see, am I locked? Yeah. Okay. So now we're moving on. I need to show you guys something. So let me just demo this first. Get rid of the stopwatch. I'm going to play a clip that I just did. This is a clip from the Kiwi SDR. That's the reason why I didn't like it. I thought it was set and it's muddy. It's because my EQ was off in the software. Oops. But anyways, this will show you what I'm talking about. And this is very high modulation without distortion. So this rig is capable of it. It's capable of really crack-a-lack on AM. If you set it up correctly. And this is with positive peaks and positive swing on the watt meter on a 200 watt carrier. So here we go. Testing 1 2. K1 GMM testing through K1 BL. 1 2. Check 1 2. Testing 1 2 audio. K1 GMM. Okay, so as you can see, that's a 200 watt carrier slamming into this web SDR. All right. And it's only 15 air miles from me. You can see how clean this is. There is no spill out of that 10 kilohertz bandwidth at like, gosh, probably between 10 and 20 over in there. And it's a very clean transceiver. This isn't a review on it. I'm just saying it's extremely clean, like a non-clean, without pre-distortion pure signal, with a valve amplifier. Now, the ACOM 2000A has two, can't remember the numbers of the tubes. There's 2 tubes in there. It's a valve amp. Very, very clean. So there you go. All right, so let me pull up this article, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, this is, you guys can go to wirelessgirl.com. Just type in DYY, K7 DYY transmitter. It's what Kevin, K2XAM, is running. All right, very good transmitter for AM. However, I found this really interesting. So if we go here, let me see if I can highlight this. I think maybe up to here. Oh. Yeah, let's go to here. Okay, so let me read that for you guys that aren't. Hey, Dan, how you doing, man? Read this for guys that can't really read it. Maybe you're watching on the phone or something. So this is audio systems for the K7DYY Super Senior transmitters. Why is this relevant? It's because this was happening to me on the Sun, this exact thing. So here we go. I know this page is about the DYY Super Senior transmitter. So many people experience protection trips on audio peaks that I have to say something about this problem first. If you are having protection trips, I wasn't having protection trips, just to let you know. What I was getting was a reverse swing on the carrier, which it's not supposed to happen. Back to the paragraph. Especially with the 8040 Super Senior, you need to consider this during initial installation. As Bruce Franklin states, you must provide a hard limiter to prevent overmodulation in the negative direction. A Symmetrix 528E will not cut it for this purpose. And keep in mind, the 528E is one of the best processors on the market. The 528E has a compressor stage, but it is not a hard limiter. While the K7DYY D104 processor does some compression, it is necessary to back off the level control in the bass from what you would expect because it is not a look-ahead processor and is limited by its attack time constant. Voicing a steady ah and adjusting for 100% on a scope will result in a setting which is too high and will result in protection trips. The first syllable after a pause, this is key. The first syllable, in other words, right when you hit it, after a pause will be maximum gain as with any conventional compressor and have too high a level. The solution is to back the audio level down until there are no protection trips on the scope. It looks like you are not getting 100% modulation, and that is partially true in an average sense. Okay, we'll stop right there. So, if we go back, remember what I said about the AGC, enabling the AGC. That is technically a hard limiter in the software, handling the audio input, right? You'll notice if I key it up again, so I'll key it up, test 1, 2, audio 1, 2, check, 1, 2. That modulation looks low to me. It's only getting to -5, but that's okay. You see where I'm going? That's what you want on AM. Now, if you look at my level right here in the spectrum, that is very high modulation right there in ratio to carrier. Carrier to mod is ridiculous right there. I see guys with modulation way the hell down here in this big, huge carrier up there. It's not enough. So it's still modulating. And Kevin said it's actually bigger and better than what he has on the DYY rig, which is dedicated to AM transmission. So you guys get what I'm saying, right? Definitely get it. Let me... Now, what I also wanted to mention, right? This is what's deceiving. I gotta say this. This is what's deceiving. So I have a brick, I have what is this? I have about 1.5 to 1 compression level. This is the compression level right here, and you can see rapid attack hard limiting right there. Now, before I was running this, you're going to hear it kick in. So I was running this up here, right? That's a lot of limiting, man. That's a lot of limiting. That's just whacking it. But, back this back down. You'd think that would be enough. Oh, shoot, I went to the wrong one. Test, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Audio, 1, 2. Test, 1, 2, audio. There we go. There we go. Okay, test, test. Okay. You would think that that would be enough to prevent that reverse swing on the watt meter, on the carrier, but it's not. It's not. You have to use, on the sun, you must use, back over to the screen, you must use the mic AGC. You have to use it. So I just wanted to explain that. The software is good in what it does, but yeah, not that good. It's not enough. And I tried actually backing the mic gain level down. So the K7, well, that really doesn't have anything, Dan, to do with what I'm talking about. The ACOM 2000 will trip. I get what's called an arc fault. I've gotten it before because I had a loose barrel out there. I'm not talking about that. This has to do with the modulation aspect, and you want that to be right. It's important. Let me see if there is anything. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to mention. One thing I wanted to mention. Okay, this is through extensive testing. All right. Let me blow this up a little bit so you guys may be able to see it. The sun, if you calibrate this radio, which most people do, to 15 megahertz, that's the way you do it. Calibrate it to 15 megahertz, put it on there, grab the beacon, and freaking nail it. If you get down to 40 and 80 meters, it's off frequency a little bit. It ain't much, but to the critical ear, it is. So what I do is I will go in here, go to options, make sure device is on, go to expert, and right here is the frequency coefficient. So if I pull that back up, 80 to 40 meters, I set this to 0.00060. Then I click right, apply and OK. And this is bang on, baby. It is nailed bang on. Now for 20 through 10 meters, I switch this to 50, and it is right on the money. How many times do you hear people off frequency as they get higher in frequency? I've heard people down below this sound a little bit off frequency. This particular rig is a little weird. It's a little wonky. And I found that out on sideband, on slot bucket. So that's a way to correct that. Now yours, I don't know. Depends on whatever, the oscillator. It may be fine. This particular radio is a little bit out, just a hair, and this completely corrects it. So I don't remember. I think what I did was I zeroed, because I couldn't get it right. It was not right when I calibrated it to 15 megahertz. Wasn't right on, definitely wasn't right on the top, up around 29 megahertz, and it wasn't right down here around 3 to 7 megahertz. So I think what I did was I reset the frequency coefficient to 0, clicked right, zeros all the way across, and then I put a coefficient compensation in there for the different groups of bands, and it is freaking bang on. I mean, ridiculous. And I've checked it through carriers and stuff like that, and it is literally, you'd have to expand the spectrum all the way out to see it. And I can tell you can't hear it. So I wanted to mention that. That's, if you care. AM, it probably wouldn't matter that much, because if you run SAM, a lot of people are running SAM on the modern rigs. Some people are running old rigs, and they don't have that capability. So, yeah, there you go. All right, let me check to see if there's anything else. Hairless girl is out of there. This is gone. And I think that's it. Save that. I think that's it. So it doesn't look like anybody's really interested. Nobody in the chat, which I can give a flying crap less. But I'm glad a couple people are in here. I will be back with, oh gosh, I've got some issues. Yes, mental, emotional, and technical issues with VST host on the TX side. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I need to, when I launch VST host, I get an error and I have to crash it, hard close it, and then pop it back on. It lights right back up. And I've had issues. Dan. No, you're not, dude. This can apply to other radios, and watch for that. If you play, I've seen it on the 7300 a couple years ago. I remember seeing that. I'm like, dadgummit, why when I talk does the freaking power level drop? Oh, that's what it is. It's overmodulated. So I'm not sure how to fix that on the 7300. So anyways, yeah, the TX side, I've had glitches. I'm going to show you. I had a guy contact me, WB2RON, Ron. He said that this plugin right here is wonky. It loses its settings. Like every time he lights it up, it defaults. It goes back to default. It doesn't save, and yet all the other plugins save. And I've had that happen before. So far, I haven't had it happen since I put this new VST host in a couple months ago. Now, this plugin right here, the blended EQ, I've had issues with this one where I'll make a setting change and all of a sudden all of the bottom end drops out. It just brain farts and I have to reload it again. So, got a few little quirks. I don't know. I just don't know how to deal with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this package off of the desktop. I'm going to re-download it and re-extract it to the desktop and see what happens. But I need to back this up first because a lot has changed. I've gotten into AM and there's, you know, this AM profile in here, so I have to figure that one out. And I also loaded this in here. This is the Reefer Subtract plugin, so I have a brick wall filter in here as well, and which also gives me a spectrum analyzer pre-modulator in the rig. So you can see she's a little heavy right here, Sierra, 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 Sierra. So I have peaks on the top and in the mid, just over this line right here. And if you look at the bottom is creeping up way over the top. It's not way over the top. It's a little heavy, but not much. But it's I need to do some more work. So that's it, you guys. Anyways, oh, I got through that. I can't believe it. Trying to think if I missed anything. A lot there, huh? But it's not a big deal. Oh, yeah. And the other thing is, check this out. I picked that up. That's the E-coder for the sun. I got a video coming for that. It's not going to interest most people because most people don't have this rig probably, but I have some interesting things about this, and I'm not going to say any more. I got it used. I would never buy that new. Way the frick overpriced. Way overpriced, but it is pretty nice. I love it because it brings it over. Like if you guys look over here, this is the MIDI controller for the Anon, which I don't even use anymore. If I'm running the Anon, I'm usually running it standalone. So that was kind of a waste of money. But I'll have some comments about that, whether people, recommendations. Take it for what it's worth. We'll see you all later. 7-3, thanks for checking in. And I hope this lands in some people's lap that want to do a little AM. I think there's some information in here which will give people places to look at, to pay attention to. And if you're seeing what I saw and what other people see with the DIY and probably many other transceivers, I've heard about this. I remember reading about it a few years ago. Very, very common, especially with rice burners. Very common. And they can work on AM, but you got to do some finagling with them. Anyways, we'll see y'all later. Mervin, I'll be back with more. Good to see you, man. Go back and watch this if you're interested. It's all about setting up for AM. Things I found out. Anyways, catch y'all later.